401k mistakes you can't afford to make in your 50s. I have this conversation a lot. But let's kind of set the stage here a little bit. Let's say your retirement account is a car, right? And your objective is to park that car for the next 20 years, meaning, hey, I've got the vehicle. I'm gonna put it away for a later use for the next 20 years. Now, when you come back to access that vehicle, the fact that the tires might be a little bit flat, okay, not unusual. The fact that the battery might be dead, not unusual. But would you expect to come back to a vehicle that is missing tires, or the engine is gone, or the windows are blown out, or the vehicle is destroyed? Would you expect to come back to that vehicle 20 years from now and have something other than what it was you left? Absolutely not. But that's how majority of us treat our retirement accounts, specifically 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, TSPs, those traditional employer plans. We treat them as this vehicle that we can set it and forget about what's happening to it, not realizing it was never about the 401k. It was never about the vehicle itself. It's about where it was left. It's about whether or not it was protected. Was it under a tarp? Was it under a carport? Was it in a garage? Where was it? Because if it's not fully protected, you might come back and find out the brake lines were eaten by rats, or
the radio was stolen.
My point is, it's less about the vehicle itself and more about where it's been positioned to be protected. And so what we're going to walk through today is how to make sure your retirement dollars are put in the right position so they can not just work for you, but also be protected from loss. We're going to talk about the silent 401k mistake, understanding the risk after 50, some actionable steps. What can you do about it? And again, we're done with set it and forget it. It's about set it and protect it. How can we protect the dollars that we have and also grow them? And one of the biggest mistakes I see is people get retirement accounts and assume that just because I have it, just because I'm contributing to it, I'm safe. I have so many conversations, especially with people, I would say in their mid 30s to early 40s. They want to tell me how secure they are with the retirement account they have with the company that they work for. Meaning, hey, I contribute to my 401k, I contribute to my 403b, I'm fine. I'm protected, I'll be enough. Assuming that your contribution into that retirement account is enough, when it's not. And again, it's not about the retirement account. There's so many finfluencers out there talking about how traditional retirement accounts are bad. It's not the retirement account itself. It's where the retirement account is located. It's what the retirement account is invested in. 401k specifically are actually trusts. Trusts are one of the most secure vehicles you could possibly have. But if that vehicle is subject to storms, subject to not being protected, what are you actually kind of leaving that 401k in a position to be? And so most people in their 50s don't realize this until it's too late. So our objective for today is to kind of break down some of these details and hopefully put you in a better position to be able to take action. And as I keep stating, we are done with set it and forget it. That old adage of set it and forget it, no more. What we're talking about is set it and protect it. Meaning, if you put your vehicle in the right place, you should be walking back 20 years later to something a bit more viable, hopefully something more than what you left, but at a minimum, you should not be at a loss. You should not be putting this vehicle in a position to be somewhat damaged or destroyed or be minimalized to less than what you walked in with. 67% of 55-year-olds fear they will outlive their retirement account. Why is that? And as it relates to 59% of 65-year-olds, this is the reason why we're seeing so many 70-year-olds driving Uber, 70-year-olds delivering pizzas. It's because it's happening. It's a real thing. Why is that? And when I think about this subject in general, I think about that lady delivering pizzas who fell on those steps, that video that went viral. She thought, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she worked in a cafeteria. She worked there for 40 years and felt as though she did the right thing. She was contributing to her retirement account. She was putting the money where it belongs. But when she hit retirement age, she quickly found out she did not have enough to remain retired. Why is that? Is it the 401k's fault? Is it the 403b's fault? Is it the TSP's fault? It's not. It's where these vehicles were positioned, how these vehicles were positioned, where they were placed. So what we're talking about are 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, government 457 plans, IRAs, Roth and traditional, Roth 401ks. There are many different vehicles associated with qualified accounts. And you followed the rules. You've done what you're supposed to do. Let's say you came into the workforce at this point. You've been contributing the way you supposed to into your retirement account religiously, doing everything that you were supposed to do. And let's just say, just before you were to retire, the market takes a dip. The market takes a dip just before you're about to retire. What is the impact? What does that do to the time frame that you, or the dollar amount you thought you had, the vehicle that you were coming back to, the vehicle that you've been putting all of these dollars into, knowing that at some point you're going to need that vehicle? You've been doing exactly what you're supposed to do, but then all of a sudden the market falls. What happens to that date that you were supposed to now be retiring? It's been impacted. But what is the message you receive? Your money's been placed in this position, and you've been following the rules the way it was supposed to. And again, 90% of your portfolio, and this is a traditional perspective for most of us who have money in the market, 90% of your portfolio is tied up in the market. And again, what happens if that crash occurs? And that's why qualified accounts don't necessarily mean protection, meaning it may be a 401k, it may be an IRA, but that doesn't mean it's protected. It just means that it has it's a tax advantage account. Qualified just simply means tax advantage. Qualified just simply means you have the ability to put tax deferred dollars into it, not be taxed on it today, in order to build a nest egg that you can then, once you reach that point of retirement age, to be able to draw from, or pay taxes on that dollar amount, pay taxes on that seed today, and whatever grows from it is growing tax free. It just means tax advantage is all qualified means. But ultimately, if your money is tied or linked to a vehicle such as this, what's happening is that wealth that you think you're generating is impacted by risk, meaning this performance is directly tied to the amount of risk you've placed those dollars in. And so the objective is, how do we transition out of the equation of risk and focus on making sure our dollars are sitting somewhere secure? Where is that place located so that I can remove the risk from the growth on the dollars that I have and place them in a much more secure position? And ultimately, that's related to the risk return pyramid, meaning where your dollars exist, where those qualified dollars exist, are important. Are they in a vehicle close to the base that focus on security? Or are they in the center here where your dollars are focused on growth, but they're not necessarily secure, which means they're impacted by market risk? Or is it about leverage? In most cases, most of us with an IRA, 401k, 403b, TSP, government 457 plan, our dollars are sitting here. They're in mutual funds, stocks, securities, mutual funds, and high-grade stocks in most cases, which means they are subject to risk. So then again, the objective is to transition those dollars from that risk and put them in a position of security. And the truth about IRAs and 401ks is people think qualified account or qualified means security, and it doesn't. It just simply means that it's a vessel, it's a vehicle used, and it's a tax advantage container that allows you to be able to generate wealth and income while you have it. So the truth is, qualified has nothing to do with security, it has everything to do with tax advantage and default danger. Most accounts default into mutual funds and stocks and bonds, mainly target date funds with significant market exposure. And so if you're 57, 56, 55, if you're in your 50s and you have the majority of your qualified dollars wrapped up in the market, wrapped up in traditional investments like anything associated with the stock market, what you have is not a secure vehicle. What you're doing is you're gambling with your future. It's a hope and a prayer as to whether or not the market will or won't sustain itself in time for you to be able to retire. And I go back to, what if on your birthday or just before your birthday, the market takes a dip? How does that impact what you expected to be your 59 and a half or your 63rd birthday, and you were about to relieve yourself of this job so that you can head off into the sunset and into retirement, only to learn my time frame has now been pushed a few years because the dollar amount that I expected to be able to retire with no longer exists. And so the risk that most people miss, especially around my age, is the true impact of a market downturn. Because we've been told for so long, hey, the market's down, don't worry, keep buying. The market's on sale. Hey, it's cheap. Keep putting your money towards it, not really breaking down the impact of what happens during a true market downturn. So just wanted to highlight the impact of a market downturn. And in most cases, when the market is performing poorly, your response from your financial advisor is simply, hey, That's the reason we diversify. We put a little bit over here and a little bit over here and a little bit over here, such that if the market does take a turn, all of your portfolio isn't impacted. But the moral of the story is it's all in the market. So how much control does your financial advisor have? Very little. These finfluencers out here who swear that traditional retirement planning isn't the move. But what do they say? Hey, the market's on sale. You'll recover. You're young. Don't worry about it. Continue placing dollars towards this vehicle that at some point will recover. And when it recovers, you'll be just fine. But no one ever breaks down the true impact of the word recovery because it's a time impact. Meaning, if we were to just simply look at 2022, when 2022 occurred, the impact on the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ was the Dow lost 10%, the S&P lost 24%, and the NASDAQ lost 45%. What is the true impact of recovery? Meaning, how much time does it take just to get back to even? If your money was tied into the market during that period and you lost 24% in your portfolio, that equates to about 41 months of recovery time. And to zoom in a little bit, that equates to about 3.4 years. If you lost anywhere around 45%, that equates to almost 6.5 years of recovery time. So again, if you're approaching retirement and your portfolio takes a hit that requires another 4 years to recover just to get back to where you were, not to improve, not to increase what you have inside of it, but just simply get back to nominal, get back to where you started at that point. Takes 4 years. That's 4 additional years you may have to stay in the workforce. That's 4 additional years you may have to continue doing something that you didn't plan on doing. So the key is, where can you place your dollars to put them in a position so it's not impacted? So there's a few different approaches. There's a traditional approach, and that traditional approach means you have full market exposure. It means that vehicle that you've been putting money towards, that you've been focused on making sure that vehicle is going to be there for you in the future, is not protected. It's sitting in the middle of a field hoping it will be okay. It's vulnerable to market corrections. The recovery is dependent upon market timing, meaning did the market shift or the market correction occur early enough so that you do have the time to at least get back to nominal before you retire, or did it happen on your birthday, that date that you thought you were going to be leaving this job and moving on to do something different? And there's no income guarantees. Or we can focus on a more protected approach, and that is, I want to protect the money that I have. I at least want to make sure the money that I have can't be lost due to market risk. And with the potential for growth, and if there are downturns in the market, there's no negative impact on the money that I've contributed into this product. And income guarantees being optional. Maybe I don't need income immediately. Maybe I can focus my attention on growth, but I want the option of being able to take income if I want it. And what is it worth to you? This is something that we talk about often on this channel. We all only have a certain number of compound cycles. And so if we are here, that means we have a good solid 3 compound cycles left unless you plan on working beyond age 70, which, sad to say, I think a lot of us are being forced in a position where we have to acknowledge that 70 and beyond is actually a thing as it relates to when we work. So when we focus on what is the impact to you, it's time. Time is working against you. Time is not your friend in this process. So what that means is we need to make sure that we leverage the time that we have, putting our money in a position such that it can't be lost due to market risk. So again, if you're sitting around with X amount of dollars in a previous employer plan, 200 plus, whatever that dollar amount might be in some retirement account, which many of us are, because we've either worked for a company that did quite well and now we no longer work for that company, so we left those dollars sitting in that retirement account hoping that it will continue to perform, not realizing the risk that we're placing those dollars in. So the question isn't, how much did I save? The question isn't, how much is in it? The question is, how much of those dollars are at risk? What is the true risk of those dollars sitting in that previous employer plan? What is the true risk of those dollars sitting in that Roth IRA or that traditional IRA? And when necessary or when needed, how much income can I count on? What happens if the market were to take a turn? If the market were to drop 30%, what is the true impact, not just on the dollars in it? What's the true impact on me? What does that mean I have to do to now account for that 30% loss? Because the impact on me means I may need to do something different to be able to make up for the income that's been lost. And can I afford it? At this stage in my life, And we talk about this, well, I talk about this all the time. Being 50 years old, here's what I don't have time for. I don't have time for loss, and neither do you. And that's regardless of your age. If you're 35 years of age, if someone is telling you you have time to recover, take that as a cue that maybe you need to identify a better place to position your dollars, because the last thing you want to be is in a position at age 50 realizing the adjustment that you should have made at 35 to get your money in a position to where it can be a bit more secure.